In the glittering world of love and hip-hop, everything looks perfect. The smiles, the matching designer fits, the flawless photos framed with captions about loyalty, struggle, and love that conquers all. To fans, Yandy and Mendeecees weren't just another TV couple. They were proof that love could survive chaos, distance, even time behind bars. They had built a brand on loyalty. The image of a woman who stood by her man no matter what, and a man who came home ready to rebuild a legacy with her. But perfection, especially in the entertainment world, is rarely more than a performance, a delicate pause before the storm breaks. And behind their carefully curated moments, cracks had begun to show. The chemistry that once felt magnetic now seemed practiced, the smiles tighter, the energy distant. Fans began noticing subtle things. Yandy appearing solo at events, captions about trust and truth, Mendeecees avoiding interviews, and long silences that said more than words ever could. Then came the whispers. Faint at first, just murmurs buried in gossip blogs and fan page comments. Someone hinted that a well-known reality star's relationship was about to crumble, and that a woman connected to their past might be pregnant. It was vague, unconfirmed, and dangerous, but just enough to ignite curiosity. Soon, a storm of speculation spread online, and all roads seemed to lead back to one name. And then one night, Tasha K went live, known for her sharp tongue and unapologetic delivery. Tasha had teased that she had real receipts, proof of something that could turn the internet upside down. Her chat exploded with thousands of viewers, flooding comments with guesses, begging for a name, a hint, anything. She smiled, leaned forward, and spoke 3 words that froze the entire internet. Jasmine, baby, Mendeecees. The chat went silent for half a second, and then chaos. Timelines flooded, podcasts scrambled, and gossip channels declared it the biggest bombshell of the year. Fans raced to old clips, old posts, anything that could make sense of what they'd just heard. Yandy's cryptic captions suddenly looked like foreshadowing. Mendeecees' silence felt like guilt. Jasmine's disappearance from social media became the loudest clue of all. Within hours, TikToks analyzed every micro-expression, threads broke down timelines, and blogs speculated whether Tasha's claims could actually be true. What if Mendeecees wasn't the man everyone thought he was? What if the fairy tale was always a facade? The illusion of the perfect couple began to crumble in real time. And as their fans turned into investigators, the storm grew darker, faster, louder. Because while the internet was still arguing over rumors, Tasha K wasn't done. She had promised proof, and the kind of proof that could turn whispers into headlines. The calm was over. The storm had officially begun. When Tasha K went live again the following night, the internet was already vibrating with anticipation. Every gossip page, every YouTube commentator, every fan group was waiting. Not for rumors this time, but for receipts. Her previous stream had cracked the surface. This one promised to break the floor open. Within minutes, tens of thousands tuned in, flooding the chat with frantic comments. Where's the proof? Is she lying? Show the receipts? Tasha sat calmly, sipping from her signature wine glass, eyes glimmering with the satisfaction of someone who knows she's about to control the narrative. Y'all keep asking me if it's true, she began. Her voice slow, deliberate. So let me show you what I have. The next moment, she dropped a screenshot, a private message thread allegedly between Jasmine and a close friend, where Jasmine hinted that the baby's father doesn't even know yet. Then came another, a photo of a hospital form, blurred in places but with one detail visible, a last name that matched Mendeecees. The chat exploded. Thousands of people started screen recording, reposting, dissecting every pixel of the image. Some called it fake, others swore it was real. The frenzy was unstoppable. Within minutes, the hashtag Tasha K receipts was trending across platforms. But Tasha wasn't finished. I know how y'all think, she continued, smiling. You want DNA? You want proof? Oh, I got that too. The audience froze. And then, on screen, she revealed what she claimed was a DNA summary. a document showing a 99.8% probability that Mendeecees was the biological father of Jasmine's child. The comment section went ballistic. Some screamed, "This can't be real!" Others typed, "Yandy deserves better," while a few begged her to stop before lawyers got involved. But the clip was already viral. Bloggers snatched screenshots, podcasters downloaded the live replay, and TikTokers began posting side-by-sides comparing Jasmine's baby photos to Mendeecees. The similarities were all they needed to believe. For many, the case was closed. Yet beneath the chaos, questions started to form. Legal, ethical, moral. How did Tasha K even get access to this information? Was it leaked? Was it real? Or was it another calculated move to stir controversy and boost views? Even as fans debated, the damage was already done. Yandy's name trended across Twitter alongside words like betrayal and divorce. Old clips of her defending Mendeecees resurfaced, now edited with ironic captions and sad music. The internet had turned their love story into a crime scene. Hours after the livestream, Mendeecees finally broke his silence with a cryptic post. A black screen with 3 words, "Don't believe everything." But it was too late. The narrative had already run away from him. Commenters flooded his page with accusations, disbelief, and heartbreak. Yandy, meanwhile, remained silent. No post, no comment, no appearance. That silence spoke volumes. Behind closed doors, insiders whispered that her team was in crisis mode, trying to verify the claims, control the narrative, and protect her image. But how do you fight a rumor when screenshots and DNA tests are already circulating like wildfire? The internet doesn't wait for truth. It builds its own. Tasha K, now riding the wave of clicks and chaos, teased another drop, claiming she had audio evidence that could confirm everything. The speculation became a spectacle. Reaction videos, memes, breakdown threads. Everyone wanted to be part of the unfolding drama. Even those who didn't follow love and hip-hop found themselves caught up in the saga. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It was digital theater. A scandal streamed live, frame by frame, in real time. And for Yandy and Mendeecees, every second online was another blow to a reputation they had spent years building. The receipts had been dropped, the world had taken sides, and the truth, whatever it was, no longer mattered. The court of public opinion had already delivered its verdict. And somewhere, far from the noise, Yandy was left to decide whether to fight for her marriage. Or for her peace. For her peace. After the chaos of Tasha K's receipts, the internet didn't rest. It fed. Every influencer with a microphone suddenly had an opinion, every gossip page a theory. But in the middle of that digital firestorm, the two people at the center, Yandy and Mendeecees, went quiet. No statements, no explanations, not even a denial. For a couple so used to living out their lives in front of cameras, their silence was deafening. And in the age of social media, silence isn't seen as grace. It's seen as guilt. Yandy's fans flooded her old posts with prayers and questions, while others accused her of ignoring the obvious. If it's not true, say it. Protect your peace, sis. But she didn't respond. Instead, she disappeared. No stories, no brand deals, nothing. Behind the scenes, insiders claimed she was devastated, blindsided, and furious, not just at the betrayal, but at how easily the world believed it. She'd built an empire on integrity, family, and empowerment. And now, one live stream had turned her entire narrative upside down. Meanwhile, Mendeecees was nowhere to be found. Some said he'd gone to stay with family, others claimed he was trying to get ahead of the story. But fans noticed something. A post he had liked days before the scandal. A quote that read, "Loyalty is tested when the truth is ugly." That post resurfaced everywhere, turning into its own conspiracy. Was he admitting something? Was it a clue? Every move, every gesture, every silence was dissected like evidence in a courtroom. Days turned into weeks. And yet, Yandy remained silent. Until one evening, she finally broke it. No fancy captions, no dramatic post, just a black and white video. Her face was bare, her voice steady but soft. "I've seen everything," she said. "And I've heard what everyone's saying. But sometimes silence isn't weakness. It's choosing not to add to the noise. Her comment section exploded. Some praised her strength. Others accused her of deflecting. "Did he do it or not?" became the most liked comment under her post. But Yandy didn't answer that question. Instead, she spoke about betrayal, faith, and healing, not confirming, not denying. She ended with a line that felt like both a warning and a release. "The truth doesn't need a microphone. It just needs time." That video became an instant trend. People quoted it, remixed it, analyzed it like scripture. But the mystery remained. Had she forgiven him? Had she left? Was the baby real? Every blog claimed to know the real story, but none could prove it. The internet's attention shifted, as it always does, to new scandals, new chaos. But the damage was already done. Brand deals were paused, appearances canceled, and the once envied couple had become a case study in how fast love can crumble under the pressure of public perception. And yet, something strange began to happen. A quiet sympathy started forming for Yandy. Even people who once doubted her began seeing her silence as strength. Memes turned into messages of support. The same internet that mocked her began to root for her comeback. Because deep down, people recognized something painfully human in her situation. The experience of being humiliated by something you didn't cause, and forced to heal while millions watched. Meanwhile, Tasha K hinted at another bombshell, teasing part 2 of her story. But this time, the internet wasn't as eager. The public's appetite for destruction had shifted. They had already consumed the scandal, and now they wanted closure. As her views began to dip, Tasha doubled down, claiming more proof would emerge soon. But for the first time, people questioned her credibility. The same audience that once cheered her now demanded truth. In the end, silence had done what chaos couldn't. It changed the narrative. Yandy, once seen as the victim of betrayal, began to reclaim her voice, not by shouting, but by refusing to let gossip define her. The storm hadn't passed, but it had begun to quiet. And in that calm, something new began to form. Not the illusion of perfection, but the slow, quiet rebuilding of a woman who refused to break. Just when it seemed the chaos had finally settled, the story took a turn no one saw coming. Weeks had passed since Tasha K's explosive receipts, and the world had moved on. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Yandy was slowly reappearing online, posting motivational quotes and quiet glimpses of her daily life, while Mendeecees was spotted attending community events, avoiding any talk of the scandal. The noise was dying down, and it almost felt like the worst was over. But the internet has a cruel way of reopening wounds just when they start to heal. Late one Friday night, a small entertainment blog posted something shocking. Leaked court documents allegedly tied to the DNA test that had fueled Tasha K's claims. Unlike the screenshots she showed, these appeared official, complete with timestamps and authentication marks. But here's where everything flipped. The name on the document wasn't Mendeecees Harris. It was Marcus Henderson, a man with no connection to love and hip-hop at all. Within hours, the internet exploded again. Threads filled with disbelief, calling out Tasha K for doctoring receipts. Users began comparing her screenshots to the newly surfaced files, pointing out inconsistencies, font changes, blurred signatures, cropped edges. What had once looked like solid proof now looked suspiciously like manipulation. And suddenly, the same internet that had crucified Mendeecees turned on Tasha K. Did she fake everything for views? Did she just ruin people's lives for clicks? Accusations spread faster than the original scandal. Legal experts joined the conversation, analyzing the documents, while fans demanded accountability. Even other gossip creators distanced themselves, deleting old videos and issuing apologies for believing too soon. The tide had turned. Mendeecees' silence now looked like restraint, not guilt. Yandy's calm began to be seen as dignity, not denial. Slowly, the narrative began to shift back in their favor. Then came the real bombshell. Tasha K's former assistant came forward in a late-night Instagram Live, claiming she had been the one who helped edit the DNA documents at Tasha's direction. Her words echoed through every gossip platform. She told me to make it look real. She said people just need to see something. They don't check the details. That clip went viral within minutes, hitting millions of views before it was deleted. But by then it was too late. Screenshots had already been saved, reshared, and archived. The damage to Tasha K's credibility was irreversible. Suddenly, blogs that had once defended her were retracting stories, and fans began demanding justice for Yandy and Mendeecees. What started as a scandal of betrayal had turned into a scandal of deception, not by the couple, but by the woman who exposed them. As pressure mounted, Tasha K tried to defend herself, calling the assistant a liar and insisting the receipts were 100% real. But the more she spoke, the worse it got. Forensic analysts and digital investigators picked apart her supposed evidence frame by frame, exposing edits, mismatched metadata, and missing identifiers. The once feared queen of internet gossip was now under fire herself. Lawsuits began brewing, with Yandy's representatives reportedly exploring defamation claims. Suddenly, the story had flipped. The hunters had become the hunted. Meanwhile, Yandy posted something subtle but powerful. A photo of herself in all white, standing under a gray sky with the caption, "When the truth finally speaks, it doesn't need to shout." The internet went wild. Support flooded in. Celebrities, fans, even former critics filled her comments with messages of strength and apology. For the first time in months, Yandy wasn't trending because of a scandal, but because of grace. Mendeecees followed up with his own post a day later, writing, "Lies travel fast, but truth doesn't need to chase." It was the statement everyone had been waiting for. Not defensive, not bitter, just calm. The couple appeared together again days later at a charity event, hand in hand, smiling quietly as cameras flashed. No words, no press release, just presence. And somehow that spoke louder than any interview ever could. But the twist didn't just restore their image. It exposed something deeper about the world watching them. The public had been so quick to believe the worst, to amplify pain for entertainment, to turn someone's life into content. And now, faced with proof that they'd been manipulated, many began to question their own complicity. How many people had shared the rumor? How many had mocked Yandy without knowing the truth? The story wasn't just about fame or gossip anymore. It had become a mirror reflecting how easily digital outrage replaces empathy. Tasha K's empire began to crumble. Sponsors withdrew, videos were flagged, and her subscriber count fell by the hour. The same audience that had fueled her rise was now tearing her down. She issued a half apology saying, "If I was misled by my sources, that wasn't my intention." But by then, the apology felt hollow. The damage, emotional, reputational, and personal, was already done. In the end, what began as a story about betrayal became a story about redemption. Yandy and Mendeecees didn't need to fight the storm, they simply outlasted it. The truth had come quietly, almost gently, but its power was undeniable. The internet had moved on to new gossip, new victims, new noise. But for those who had watched this saga unfold from start to finish, one lesson lingered. In a world addicted to outrage, sometimes the only real power left is silence. The real power left is silence. In the quiet that followed the chaos, something unexpected happened. Peace. Not the fake, camera-ready kind, but the fragile calm that comes when truth finally clears the smoke. Weeks after the scandal imploded, Yandy began to move differently. She wasn't posting for validation or clapping back at rumors anymore. She was simply living. Her captions turned reflective, her tone softer. She spoke about grace, about learning who stands beside you when the noise fades. Mendeecees too seemed changed. Not defensive, not angry, just tired of the game that almost destroyed his family. For the first time, their love story wasn't being written by producers or bloggers. It was being rewritten by endurance. Fans who had once doubted them began to rally behind them, calling it a spiritual comeback. Even those who once dragged Yandy online now reposted her words as quotes of strength. Slowly, the narrative shifted, from scandal to survival, from betrayal to rebirth. Tasha K's empire, meanwhile, was crumbling under lawsuits, takedowns, and public backlash. The same viewers who once fueled her gossip empire now saw her as the villain who crossed a line too far. But this wasn't just about one couple or one blogger. It had become a reflection of all of us. In chasing entertainment, the world had forgotten the humanity of the people on the screen. Lives had been dissected, reputations dismantled, and emotions exploited, all for clicks. Yandy's silence had been called weakness, Mendeecees' restraint called guilt, and Jasmine's disappearance labeled proof. Yet in the end, none of it was truth, just echoes of assumption amplified by the internet's hunger. When Yandy finally broke her silence during a charity event, her words silenced the crowd. "We all make mistakes, but I learned that peace comes when you stop explaining yourself to people who never wanted to understand." That single line became viral, not for drama but for wisdom. In that moment, the noise ended. Their story, once tainted by lies, had become a lesson in resilience. As cameras faded and timelines moved on, Yandy and Mendeecees stood together, not as the perfect couple the world once imagined, but as two imperfect souls who survived the storm. Because sometimes redemption doesn't come from clearing your name. It comes from choosing peace over proving a point. Months after the dust had settled, the saga of Tasha K, Yandy, Mendeecees, and Jasmine had transformed from mere gossip into a cultural cautionary tale. What began as a scandal fueled by whispers had evolved into a nationwide conversation about truth, reputation, and the cost of chasing virality. Reality TV producers, bloggers, and influencers suddenly found themselves under scrutiny, forced to question how far they were willing to go for engagement. Behind the scenes, Yandy and Mendeecees were quietly rebuilding, not their image, but their peace. They no longer sought to prove anything. They had already learned that truth doesn't need an audience to exist. Yandy began hosting community events about media literacy, encouraging young creators to verify stories before spreading them. Mendeecees focused on mentorship programs, teaching youth that strength isn't about fighting back online. It's about knowing when to walk away. The same fans who once dissected their pain now admired their growth, calling them the blueprint for bouncing back. Meanwhile, Jasmine had completely stepped out of the spotlight. Her disappearance was neither dramatic nor explained. It was her way of reclaiming control over her own narrative. People speculated about her, but she never responded. And perhaps that silence was the loudest message of all. Tasha K, on the other hand, faced the harshest consequences. Her empire continued to crumble, her credibility shattered, and her once loyal audience vanished overnight. Lawsuits piled up, and networks began distancing themselves from her content. For a woman who once controlled the internet's attention, losing it all became the ultimate irony. Still, the story didn't end in bitterness. It ended with reflection. Audiences began realizing how easily outrage could be weaponized, how quickly empathy disappears behind a trending hashtag. Comment sections that once thrived on mockery now carried a different tone, caution, even remorse. The scandal had become a turning point for the digital age, a reminder that every story has real hearts attached to it. Yandy's final words during an interview summed it up perfectly. "The truth doesn't always come fast, but when it does, it heals louder than lies ever could." And with that, the storm that once threatened to destroy them left behind something greater: wisdom, resilience, and a legacy built not on perfection, but on surviving the noise. When everyone thought the chapter had finally closed, a quiet revelation surfaced that reframed the entire story. Months after Tasha K's downfall, a small investigative podcast released an exclusive episode featuring a former Love and Hip Hop crew member who claimed to have witnessed the chaos unfold in real time. According to her, much of the early speculation that fueled the scandal had been manipulated behind the scenes, not by producers, but by anonymous insiders seeking clout and clicks. She revealed that a series of fake DMs and altered screenshots had been circulated long before Tasha K's live streams, planting seeds of chaos across gossip blogs. It wasn't a single lie. It was a chain reaction of digital deceit. The podcast quickly went viral, forcing people to confront an uncomfortable truth. No one had ever verified the original proof. Even Tasha K, who once claimed to have exclusive sources, had unknowingly fallen into a web spun by opportunists who understood one thing better than anyone: that in the age of viral news, perception is more powerful than fact. The internet that once mocked Yandy now collectively gasped at its own complicity. Commenters apologized publicly, fans deleted cruel posts, and even rival blogs admitted they had been wrong. In the midst of this reckoning, Yandy and Mendeecees chose not to celebrate or retaliate. Instead, they released a short joint statement that read simply, "We forgive, but we don't forget. Not because of what it cost us, but because of what it taught us." Those words resonated far beyond the reality TV sphere, becoming a rallying cry for accountability in the digital space. The same platforms that had once torn them apart began featuring them in stories of resilience and renewal. Yandy's quiet strength and Mendeecees' calm composure became symbols of maturity in an era addicted to outrage. As for Jasmine, she remained silent, untouched by the noise, proving that sometimes peace isn't found in defending yourself. It's found in disappearing from the circus entirely. By the time the podcast wrapped its final episode, it wasn't about who was guilty or innocent anymore. It was about how quickly truth can be distorted when people crave drama more than honesty. In the end, what had begun as a scandal became a study in humanity, and a warning that in the digital age, the loudest voices aren't always the most truthful ones. By the time the truth had fully unraveled, the world was no longer just watching a scandal, it was witnessing a shift. The saga of Yandy, Mendeecees, Jasmine, and Tasha K had become more than gossip. It was a mirror reflecting the moral decay of online culture. Every repost, every clickbait title, every mocking comment had played a part in shaping a false reality that millions believed. And now, in the aftermath, society was forced to look at itself. Media schools began using the case as a study in ethics, showing how unchecked virality could destroy reputations faster than truth could catch up. Influencers who had built their followings on tea and receipts started rebranding, adopting transparency disclaimers and fact-checking pledges to regain public trust. Even major platforms began rolling out stricter policies on misinformation, marking the beginning of what some journalists called the age of digital reckoning. But beyond policies and press releases, something deeper was changing. Empathy was making a comeback. People were starting to pause before they shared, to think before they typed, to remember that behind every headline was a heartbeat. For Yandy and Mendeecees, the storm had stripped everything down to what truly mattered. They no longer lived for cameras or cared for validation. Their peace came from privacy. The same fans who once demanded constant access now respected their boundaries, seeing in them a reflection of what healing really looks like. Yandy's influence transformed. No longer the reality star, she became a speaker, an advocate for digital compassion, urging others to scroll with consciousness. Mendeecees, once vilified, became a mentor for young men navigating fame and temptation in an era of exposure. Even Jasmine's silence became a symbol, a reminder that you don't owe anyone your pain. Meanwhile, Tasha K's story closed on a note of consequence rather than redemption. Bankrupt, banned, and publicly humbled, she became a cautionary tale about what happens when the pursuit of views outweighs the pursuit of truth. Yet even in her downfall, she served a purpose. She forced the world to confront its appetite for chaos. In the end, this wasn't just about a scandal that broke the internet. It was about a society that finally realized, when truth becomes entertainment, everyone loses something human. As the echoes of the storm faded into memory, something unexpected began to bloom from its ruins: authenticity. For years, the world of love and hip-hop and social media at large had thrived on illusion, on the perfectly curated chaos that kept audiences entertained. But now, viewers were tired of performance. They craved something real. Out of that exhaustion came a cultural shift, away from spectacle toward sincerity. Yandy and Mendeecees, once symbols of reality TV's glamour, became faces of grounded living. Their posts showed ordinary moments, cooking dinner, volunteering, laughing without filters or edits. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest, and people loved it. The comments were no longer filled with judgment or gossip. They overflowed with gratitude, with fans thanking them for showing what real healing looked like. In interviews, Yandy spoke openly about how fame had distorted her sense of self, how she once mistook attention for love and validation for value. Her words hit home for thousands who had lived the same illusion online. The truth, she said, isn't always beautiful, but it's always freeing. That became her new mantra, one that spread across platforms like wildfire, turning into a movement that redefined what it meant to be seen. Meanwhile, Mendeecees' quiet strength took center stage. He began speaking at youth conferences not about fame, but about integrity, about how the hardest battles are the ones fought off camera. His authenticity drew respect, even from those who once doubted him. Together, they turned pain into purpose, and that purpose into power. Even Jasmine, still silent but present in subtle ways, was seen volunteering at women's shelters, her actions speaking louder than any statement ever could. The story that began as betrayal had evolved into a symphony of growth, each player finding redemption through truth. The entertainment industry took notice too. Producers began reimagining what reality TV could be. Not exploitation, but exploration of real human stories. It was as if everyone had collectively exhaled, letting go of the need to pretend. The cameras might still roll, but now they captured something far more valuable than drama. They captured humanity. And as Yandy once said in a closing panel, her voice calm and assured, maybe authenticity was the plot twist we were all waiting for. Years later, when the noise had long quieted and the internet had moved on to new scandals, the story of Yandy, Mendeecees, Jasmine, and even Tasha K lingered like a lesson carved into digital history. It wasn't just remembered as a tabloid storm, it was seen as the moment the culture shifted. In the era that followed, reality stars, influencers, and everyday users began to understand that what you post can either heal or harm. The same online world that once thrived on tearing people apart slowly began learning the art of rebuilding. Yandy and Mendeecees, now more grounded than ever, used their platform not to perform, but to teach. Their foundation, once a dream, had grown into a movement dedicated to helping families recover from public shame, cyberbullying, and digital trauma. What was once their pain had become their purpose. Their relationship, tested and scarred, stood as proof that love, when rooted in truth, can survive even the most violent storms. Mendeecees' words in a final interview summed it up best. "We thought we lost everything, but what we really lost was the illusion. And that was the best thing that ever happened to us." Meanwhile, the world around them continued to evolve. Social media had become more self-aware. Gossip channels were no longer the unchecked empires they once were. Audiences began demanding accountability, empathy, and authenticity from the people they followed. Even Tasha K's story, though tragic, carried its own redemption, not through fame, but through silence. Her disappearance from the spotlight marked the end of an era where outrage ruled and truth bowed to entertainment. Jasmine's quiet resilience, her refusal to sell her side of the story, became an act of rebellion against a system that once commodified pain. And in the end, their interconnected lives had taught the same message in different ways: that fame fades, truth endures, and peace costs more than clout ever could. When Yandy finally looked back, she didn't see a scandal. She saw a cleansing. The storm that once threatened to destroy her had, in its own way, purified everything false. The circle had closed. The illusion was gone. And what remained, raw, unfiltered, and real, was freedom.